does God exist? Whether God exists is one of the most basic and important questions any person can consider. Opinions about God abound, but answering the question, does God exist, demands more than a few seconds of attention and involves a wide range of ideas and evidence. Ultimately, what we see in human experience, science, logic, and history leads to a confident answer. Yes, God exists. Often, this question is posed as, can you prove God exists? The problem is that, while truth itself is absolute, there are virtually zero instances of absolute proof outside of pure logic and mathematics. For that reason, courtrooms don't require absolute proof to reach a verdict. Rather, they seek to dispel reasonable doubt and consider what's most probable. Demanding proof of God that no one could ever reject is unreasonable. Neither evidence nor people function that way in the real world. Encountering facts and accepting them are profoundly different. Airtight, sound arguments will remain unconvincing to those determined to disbelieve. For the resolute skeptic, it's not proof, even if it would convince almost anyone else. A person's intent is more influential than any evidence encountered. That means a certain amount of faith is necessary, and not just regarding God's existence. Perfect knowledge is beyond our ability. Bias and prejudice cloud our views. There will always be a gap between what we can know and what we believe. This applies equally to skeptics and believers. We cannot possibly know every detail involved every time we sit in a chair, eat food, or climb stairs. Such actions all express a measure of faith. We act despite what we don't know, because of what we do know. That's the essence of biblical faith, including faith in the existence of God. We trust in what is known, leading us to action, despite a less than absolute understanding. Hebrews 11:6. Whether or not one acknowledges God, the decision involves faith. Belief in God does not require blind faith, John 20:29, but neither can it overcome malicious resistance, John 5:39-40. Bolstering faith are human experience, logic, and empirical evidence, all of which help answer the question, does God exist? Does God exist? Human experience. Discussing the existence of God usually starts with logical arguments. That makes sense, but it's not how human beings normally operate. No one starts devoid of all perspective, waiting to follow a robotically rational path before forming an opinion. People interpret life based on the world around them. So, looking at the existence of God ought to start with experiences. Afterwards, we can use logic to assess those views. Evidence of God exists in daily human experiences. Romans 1:19-20, Psalm 19:1, Ecclesiastes 3:11. This includes our innate sense of morality. It applies to the apparent design of the universe around us. Human life compels belief that truth, deception, love, hate, goodness, evil, etc. are real and meaningful. The overwhelming majority of people throughout history have been inclined to believe in a reality greater than the physical. Our experiences are not conclusive evidence, of course. Instead, God uses general revelation as an invitation, Revelation 3:20. Common experiences are meant to emphasize that we ought to seek further answers, Matthew 7:7-8. Those who ignore or disdain God's invitation don't have the excuse of ignorance, Romans 1:18, Psalm 14:1.